The autumn wind carried the scent of pine and distant rain as Roman trudged along the forest path toward his village. His boots crunched against fallen leaves, and his thoughts wandered to the warm stew waiting at home. He was just an ordinary farmhand's son, nothing special in a world where magic belonged to the ancient and powerful. That's when he heard it, a sound so fragile it nearly dissolved into the breeze. A whimpering, like a wounded animal, echoed from behind a cluster of rocks near the path. Roman hesitated. The forest at dusk was no place to investigate strange noises, but the sound came again, weaker this time, and something in his chest tightened. He couldn't just walk away. Behind the rocks, nestled in a bed of moss and broken eggshell fragments, lay a creature no larger than a cat. Its scales shimmered between silver and pale blue, catching the fading sunlight like scattered stars. Two small wings, translucent and veined, like dragonfly wings, trembled against its body. The hatchling's golden eyes were filled with tears, and it let out another pitiful cry. A dragon, Roman breathed, dropping to his knees. He'd heard stories all his life. Dragons were beings of immense power, creatures that once ruled the skies before retreating to hidden realms. To find one, especially one so young and vulnerable, was impossible, yet here it was, abandoned and dying. The hatchling's breathing was shallow, its tiny chest barely rising. Without thinking, Roman removed his cloak and wrapped it gently around the creature. It was cold, far too cold. He tucked the bundle against his chest and ran. His mother, Kendall, was stirring the pot when Roman burst through the door. She turned, ready to scold him for being late, but the words died on her lips when she saw what he carried. "Roman, what have you?" She stepped closer, her eyes widening. "Is that—" "It's dying, mother. I found it in the forest. Please, healing. You have to help." Kendall had been the village healer for 20 years. She'd mended broken bones, cured fevers, and even saved men from the brink of death. But a dragon, that was beyond anything in her experience. When she looked into her son's desperate eyes, she couldn't refuse. They worked through the night. Kendall brewed mixtures of herbs while Roman kept a hatchling warm by the fire. She discovered the creature was suffering from more than cold. It had been poisoned, likely by something it ate after emerging from its egg. The toxin was shutting down its young body system by system. "I don't know if this will work," Kendall admitted as she carefully administered a tincture between the dragon's tiny jaws. "Dragon physiology is different from anything I've treated. It has to work," Roman whispered, stroking the hatchling's head with one finger. "It has to." As midnight passed into the early hours, something remarkable happened. The hatchling's breathing steadied, color returned to its scales. Its eyes, which had been dimming, suddenly blazed with renewed light. It lifted its head and let out a small chirp, not of pain this time, but of recognition. The dragon looked directly at Roman, and in that moment, something ancient and powerful shifted in the world. A bond formed, invisible but unbreakable, stretching between the human boy and the dragon hatchling. Roman gasped as warmth flooded through him, and images flashed through his mind, soaring through endless skies, breathing starlight, feeling the pulse of the world itself. Kendall stepped back, her hand over her mouth. She could see it too, a faint golden thread of light connecting her son to the creature, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Roman," she whispered, "do you know what you've done?" He shook his head, tears streaming down his face, but he was smiling. The hatchling climbed up his arm and perched on his shoulder, nuzzling against his neck with surprising affection. "You've bonded with the dragon," Kendall said, her voice filled with awe and fear. "There hasn't been a dragon rider in 1,000 years. The old legends spoke of humans and dragons who chose each other, who shared souls. They were the most powerful beings in existence." By morning, word had already spread. Villagers gathered outside Roman's home, whispering and pointing. Some came with fear, others with wonder. But the real change came when the sky itself responded. As the sun rose, dragons emerged from hidden places across the realm. They appeared in the distance, great winged shadows against the dawn, circling and calling out in voices like thunder and song. They had felt the bond form, recognized one of their own, had chosen a human companion after centuries of isolation. The village elder arrived, his ancient eyes sharp with knowledge. "The dragons are acknowledging him," he said, looking at Roman with a mixture of respect and concern. "A new rider has emerged. The old powers are awakening." Roman stood at his doorway. The hatchling whom he'd already named Ember perched proudly on his shoulder. He was still just a farmhand's son, still the same boy who'd walked home hungry the night before. But the skies knew his name now, and they would never forget it. Kendall placed her hand on her son's shoulder. "Your life will never be the same." Roman looked at Ember, who chirped happily and spread her tiny wings. And then he looked at the dragons circling overhead, their ancient eyes watching him with something like hope. "I know," he said softly, "but I wouldn't change it for anything." The world had changed overnight, and it had started with one simple act of compassion. A boy who couldn't walk past a crying creature in need.